The MMA world never sleeps, and when it stirs, it erupts in chaos, controversy, and raw emotion. That's exactly what happened recently when UFC middleweight star Shawn Strickland crossed a line no fighter should ever cross, charging into the cage, fists flying after a teammate's match, and landing clean shots on a celebrating opponent. In a sport that thrives on control amid violence, Strickland's unhinged outburst sent shockwaves across the community, forcing the Nevada Athletic Commission to suspend him indefinitely. And while that might sound like a minor slap on the wrist, this could be a turning point in Strickland's career, one fueled by loyalty, rage, and a dangerously thin line between warrior and wild man. It all started on what should have been a victorious night for undefeated prospect Luis Hernandez. The young fighter had just pulled off an electrifying standing guillotine choke, finishing his opponent Miles Hunsinger in the second round at a local MMA event in Las Vegas. The crowd roared. Hernandez roared louder, and in the adrenaline rush of triumph, he turned to taunt Hunsinger's corner. That corner happened to include two UFC veterans, Chris Curtis and Shawn Strickland. What followed was madness. Like a scene out of a combat movie gone rogue, both Curtis and Strickland stormed into the cage. But it wasn't just an emotional confrontation. Strickland threw actual punches. One of those shots visibly landed on Hernandez. Security scrambled into action, separating bodies before things spiraled even further, but the damage had already been done. Shawn Strickland, known for his no-filter rants and old-school brawler energy, had just made himself public enemy number 1. The Nevada Commission wasted no time. He was suspended immediately, and with expectations that the ban would be extended. He's officially barred from fighting in Nevada until it's lifted. In UFC terms, a suspension from a specific state. Commission doesn't mean a worldwide ban. Fighters have fought elsewhere despite local suspensions. Michael Bisping famously fought in China, just 3 weeks after being medically suspended in New York, following his bout with GSP. But Strickland's case is different. It wasn't about medical clearance. This was a blatant breach of sportsmanship, respect, and commission authority, and it might haunt him for longer than he ever expected. But here's the twist. The victim himself, Luis Hernandez, didn't press charges. In fact, he took the high road. Speaking with MMA Fighting, Hernandez said he didn't take the attack personally. He didn't want Strickland punished, didn't want legal drama. That kind of grace is rare in a sport where egos often outweigh honor. Hernandez's response didn't absolve Strickland. The commission is still holding him accountable, but it did win the young fighter newfound respect across the community. In the midst of an explosive scandal, he came out looking like the real professional, and while Strickland sits in limbo, other fighters are making headlines for very different reasons. Across the country, in a different corner of the MMA world, TJ Dillashaw dropped a bombshell update on Khamzat Chimaev's training that's flipping narratives on their head. For weeks, rumors swirled that Chimaev was compromised, that he might pull out of his UFC 319 title fight against Dricus du Plessis. Fans speculated about health issues, gas tank problems, or even visa trouble. But then came the news that changed everything. Khamzat had teamed up with the legendary coach Sam Calavita, the man behind training lab The Rocky Style Garage, gym that has forged cardio machines and pound-for-pound monsters. According to Dillashaw, Chimaev isn't just training, he's transforming. Under Coach Sam, there's no such thing as lazy conditioning or half-baked weight cuts. Fighters are pushed to the limit with science-backed methods that reshape bodies and minds. KJ himself is a product of that system. And now Khamzat is neck-deep. In it, the gas tank issues, not a problem anymore. It's the weight cut rumors, already being handled. Coach Sam doesn't let anyone step into the cage without being physically and mentally indestructible. And TJ says this version of Chimaev will be the best we've ever seen. It's a much-needed boost of confidence in a fighter who seemed to be losing public trust. But that's not all. Chimaev's training camp has been anything but peaceful. In fact, it nearly exploded in drama when teammate and UFC contender Arman Tsarukyan had a heated altercation at one of the gyms where Chimaev was splitting his time. Jackson's Gym, a facility tied to Rampage Jackson and co-host Bear Gio, according to multiple eyewitnesses. Arman discovered that someone had left the door open to a private closet, where he was storing a personal collection of luxury watches worth close to $1 million. The culprit? Bear himself, a known prankster and media personality, who apparently thought it would be funny to mess with Arman's stuff. What he didn't anticipate was Arman's reaction. Furious and insulted, Arman charged toward Bear and unleashed a verbal tirade. Though it didn't turn physical, the tension in the gym was palpable. Cameras were rolling, teammates were watching, and Chimaev's camp suddenly found itself surrounded by egos, distrust, and million-dollar drama. Tsarukyan, a rising star with serious title aspirations and the financial backing of his construction tycoon father back in Armenia, was not in the mood for games. In his mind, this camp was about peak performance, not playing babysitter 2, clout-chasing influencers. And when you're preparing for the biggest fight of your teammate's life, the last thing you want is to worry about stolen watches or broken trust. Meanwhile, another rivalry is brewing across weight classes, and it's coming from an unexpected angle. Paulo Costa, known as the Eraser, took a very public shot at Ilia Topuria, a fan favorite and rising star set to make waves at UFC 318. It all started with a fan-made post celebrating MMA evolution. The image showcased legends like Shogun, Rua, Chuck Liddell, GSP, and Conor McGregor, and ended with Topuria as the next generation. But Costa wasn't buying the hype. "Sorry, but the last one is a downgrade," he commented, tossing gasoline on an otherwise wholesome tribute. What made this jab so surprising is that Topuria has never spoken negatively about Costa. Not even once. In fact, the only time their names crossed was in passing, when Topuria jokingly referenced the infamous Adesanya Costa celebration that's become meme-worthy. But Costa's comment felt targeted, like a calculated move to stir the pot and inject some venom into the news cycle ahead of his return against Roman Kopylov. Costa says he's evolved since his loss to Shawn Strickland. He's focused, aggressive, cutting angles, hunting finishes. And he's already set his sights on Chimaev next. But with shots fired at Topuria, the former title contender seems to be building tension across multiple fronts. While all of this plays out in the octagon, in the gyms and online, one final storm brews on the main stage: Dustin Poirier versus Max Holloway, about soaked in emotion and legacy. Poirier, a man who has given everything to this sport, may be stepping into the cage for one final ride. Max Holloway, the iron-willed brawler with a heart the size of Hawaii, is desperate to remind the world who he is. Two warriors. Two legacies. One unforgettable night. Strickland's suspension, Chimaev's redemption, Tsarukyan's fury, Costa's jabs, and Poirier's last stand, all colliding in a week that proves once again that MMA isn't just a sport. It's a living, breathing drama. And we're all just here for the next punch, the next twist, the next unforgettable moment. Who do you think is in the right, Shawn Strickland or the Nevada Commission? Will Khamzat Chimaev finally silence the doubters? And is Paulo Costa building a legacy or just stirring up trouble? Let us know in the comments below, and don't forget to like, subscribe, and tap the bell so you never miss another moment in this non-stop war zone called MMA. This is MMA Psycho, where the madness never ends.